Hello everybody, here's Cooking with Milo. Today I got my mum to help me make meatballs.
Hello everybody. So Milo and I are going to be making meatballs with you today. This is going to be the first time that we're doing this, and we're just going to show you kind of what you can use that's left over in your fridges and your cupboards, so that we're not wasting things and we can get all those kind of leftover veggies into our children, because Milo's not the biggest fan of veggies, are you?
No, definitely.
So Milo's only made this dish with me a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lead him through it, and it's going to show you how easy it is for you to cook with your children at home. So I'm just going to go through the ingredients so that you know and what you need to have with you. So obviously for meatballs you need meat. So we've got some lean beef mince here. However, you can use whatever you like really, but try to make it lean. It's nice to have a little bit of fat in there, but obviously not too much fat. Because these are Greek style meatballs, we're using a little bit of leftover feta cheese, which we'd previously used. There's about 100 grams there, but these meatballs feed probably 2 adults and a child, so that's about 30 kind of grams each, which is more than enough. We've got from the fridge a little bit of old courgette and a little bit of old red onion. Now this is a really good way to use up leftover veggies, providing obviously they're not mouldy. You can use them, and we're going to chop these up finely. We're going to put them into the meatballs. It's a good way of hiding veggies from children, but it's also a really good way to increase your fibre day, which we might be struggling a little bit with whilst we're at home. To give some flavour to the meatballs, we've got some spices. So I've got about 2 teaspoons of paprika, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and just a mixed kind of all-purpose seasoning there, which you can buy in most shops, but just make sure you buy the one that doesn't have any salt in it, and some pepper and some oregano. We're not going to add any salt into this because, as we said, the feta cheese is quite salty already, but also we don't want to be having too much salt in our diets. We want to try to reduce the amount of salt that we've got in our diets. It'll be quite easy right now to snack on those salty snacks, so where we can, we're not going to add any salt to our food.
So my mum is using some onions, and I'm using some courgettes, and I'm just gonna grate them like so.
It's nice to grate vegetables, particularly A, they cook quicker, and B, obviously in the meatballs we don't want large chunks of vegetables. So we're just going to chop the vegetables. I'm going to chop my onions finely. Milo, if you just grate the courgette, and then once that's done, we're going to cook them for a few minutes.
So I'm just gonna grate it until all of it is gone, and how important it is not to hurt your fingers.
Yeah, so with children, it's a really good activity to teach them to do some grating. If you just make sure that they always keep their fingers all the way to the end of whatever it is they're grating, the carrot or the apple, or in this case the courgette, to make sure that they stay nice and safe. But yeah, grating vegetables is a really good way if children are not quite confident with knives yet to get them involved.
We've now grated and chopped the onions all up, so now we're going to put a teaspoon of oil into the pan, and we're going to carefully put the courgette and onion into the pan.
And then we're going to cook for about 5 to 8 minutes until your vegetables are soft, so that we can add them into the meatball mix. It's really important that when you're cooking with fats or oil and things like that, that you measure it so that you don't use too much. So we're just going to cook these for 5 to 8 minutes, and we'll be back in a minute. After about 5 to 8 minutes, your vegetables should look like this. So your onions should be soft and translucent, and your courgette mixed in with it. Leave to cool before you use for your meatballs.
The vegetables have cooked and cooled, so now we're going to make the meatballs.
So Milo, if you just want to put the vegetables into our mincemeat. So again, We've just got some lean beef mince. Should we put those in there? We've got some lean beef mince. I mean, I suppose if they're kind of Greek style, it's fine. If they're Greek style meatballs, you could use lamb mince. You could use pork mince, but we've just used what we had in our fridge. So we've added our mixed, our cooked and cooled vegetables.
Now we're going to add our spices and continue to mix.
Just pour the whole thing in, honey. So you just add all of your spices that we showed you earlier on. So you've got paprika in there, mixed spice, so all-purpose seasoning and some garlic powder, okay? So at this stage, you might want to, if you can't quite get it all together, you might want to use your hands. But we just need to add in our cheese. So the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to take our cheese. So if you want to do that, Milo, it's just a bit of leftover feta cheese. And you're just going to gently crumble your feta cheese in. So once that's done, here darling, I hope we did the last bit. Once that's done, you can get our hands in. So obviously before we did this, make sure your hands are nice and clean, and pull your sleeves up. Make sure your hands are nice and clean, which we did at the beginning, but obviously with current things, make sure you're washing your hands constantly, okay? And we're dealing with raw meat. So we're just gonna mix those in and get my hands right in, just so all those spices are well mixed and that little bit of cheese is well mixed in there, and our vegetables. So as you can see, what we've got is a nice kind of mixed, really interesting mincemeat. Obviously it's not just your standard mince, we've got lots of different flavours in there. So you can, this mixture should make about 8 to 12 meatballs, depending on how many meatballs you want. So you can start just taking a little dollop like we've got here, and we're just going to move our dish and move that out of the way. Just going to start moving our dish here, and we're going to just start making our meatballs. So if you just want to take a little handful, and we're just going to start forming our meatballs, and then we're going to pop them into the dish, and we're going to bake them rather than fry them, as it's much healthier. You do a little bit bigger than that, darling. That's it. And this is messy work, yeah, but it's really fun for the kids. The kids will enjoy this. And so we're going to make them into lovely meatballs like that and pop them into our dish.
Now the meatballs are done, make sure you wash your hands after.
Yeah, so all our meatballs are done. We've got about 12 meatballs from the mixture that we made. So again, we're going to pop these in the oven, and we're going to bake them for about 15 minutes until they are golden brown. They might not be fully cooked on the inside, but we're going to add a sauce to them and continue cooking them in the oven until they're fully ready. So we will be back in about 15 minutes.
Now we're going to add a sauce that we cooked while the meatballs were cooking. So
whilst the meatballs were cooking, we made a really simple tomato sauce. So the tomato sauce is 2 cloves of garlic, which we sauteed for a couple of minutes in a tiny bit of oil, a tin of chopped tomatoes, and then we added a sprig of rosemary. Thank you, Milo. Milo's saying rosemary as well. Sprig of rosemary, a bit of pepper. Again, don't add any salt to it. And then any other herbs. I mean, I've used rosemary because that's what I've got in my garden, but really you can add anything at all to it. So we did that whilst the meatballs were in the oven cooking. So do you want to add the sauce to the meatballs, Milo? I'll help you. If I hold it, then you can pour it. Obviously, when you're getting children involved, make sure that they've always got an adult with them so that they don't burn themselves, and that we're super... Oh, we're flicking everywhere, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to add that sauce to the meatballs, and then we'll put it back in the oven for another 5 minutes or so to completely cook through. I mean, the meatballs should be cooked now, but just in case they're not, another 5 minutes or so in the oven will do well. And once they're done, you can, I mean, the traditional way to serve meatballs is with spaghetti or pasta, but we're going to do ours Greek style, and we're going to serve it with
rice.
We're going to have ours with rice. So we'll be back and we'll show you what the finished dish is like. So meatballs are finished. We've served ours with some leftover rice from the other day, but obviously, like we said, you can serve yours with whatever you like. We've put the sauce on, like we said, and just left to cook. So I hope you enjoy.
Very nice.
Thanks everybody, and we'll be back with another video soon. Bye.
Bye.